said, the uglier the caterpillar, the more beautiful the butterfly. True or not, there's something miraculous about a caterpillar's emerging from its self-imposed confinement. Who but God could design a process in which a worm-like larva would wrap itself in a cocoon and emerge as a beautiful butterfly? It's hard to imagine anything more absurd than nobody times nothing equals everything. No creator, no design. Dr. Francis Crick, co-discoverer of the molecular structure of DNA, says, the information in the simplest amoeba would fill 1,000 Encyclopedia Britannicas. Yet he doesn't turn to the creator, but to panspermia, seeding of the Earth from extraterrestrial planets. Now, here's a brilliant man displacing the problem because he doesn't want to gaze on the face of God. The vast array of problems for naturalistic science is at the most basic level. How did everything start? Where did energy and matter come from? And what holds everything together? Philosophic naturalism is incapable of answering these questions, and it gets worse from there. No intelligence, no design. Dump logic, and you're left with nonsense. True to their principles, naturalists must ultimately conclude that humanity is an accident. No divine image, not even a self-image. But why such a view? Either God created and rules everything, or he is dethroned. If man is on the throne, who makes up the rules? And what if I don't agree with them? For academia, a cartoon says it well. You're perfectly free to carry out whatever research you want, as long as you come to certain conclusions. In place of God, the evolutionary mind substitutes happenstance, coincidence, and luck. Chance determines what happens when there is no other cause or design. But who needs Darwinism run mad? This is nihilism, the belief that everything is without reason. The Bible, however, gives us a clear account of beginnings. Creation is supernatural. Evolution is naturalistic. Creation is divinely predestined. Evolution implies biological inevitability. Creation is directed. Evolution is undirected. Creation is special. Evolution implies only ordinary processes. Creation is intelligent. Evolution is mindless. Creation is goal-oriented. Evolution has no endpoint. Creation is ordained. Evolution is random. Creation is completed. Evolution is ongoing. Creation is directional. Evolution is scattered. Creation is divine. Evolution is godless. Creation is conservatory. Evolution is wasteful. Creation is meaningful. Evolution is purposeless. Creation is hopeful. Evolution is hopeless. Creation is true. Evolution is false. For evolution to be true, non-living chemicals would have had to organize themselves into self-reproducing organisms. Design would have played a major role in this, but realizing how encyclopedic genomic information really is, where did information and design originate? Evolutionists have no explanation for the origin of life, let alone the arrival of the first cell. That cell, with its specified complexity, they say, would have copied itself. But copying isn't always perfect, so evolutionists propose mutations as just the kind of copying errors that can create something new. These changes, called variations, would then be passed on to future cell lineages, producing new organisms, each with its own copying errors for generational change. Only the fittest would survive, a process called natural selection, and the resulting information-rich genomes would be self-correcting. But where did that first cell come from, with its wealth of information? If an encyclopedia couldn't be written without an intelligent source, it's just as foolish to say that life could have arisen on its own. Right from the outset, God created different kinds of organisms, each with a vast array of information. Enough genetic variety that future generations could adapt to their surroundings. Programmed within every organism is a high degree of complexity. Without intelligence, however, specified complexity cannot arise. Variation within populations is from reshuffling pre-existing genes, the original information having come from creation, not mutation. Without living cells, amino acid building blocks cannot assemble themselves into information-carrying DNA. The sequences carrying biological information are copied from existing sequences in cells. But what placed that information within the cell? Remarkable discoveries during recent decades have heightened our understanding of the amazing complexity of life, including individual cells. Not only are these cellular machines stunning, but their blueprints are stunning as well. DNA stores and transmits information, but it doesn't work without machines. Darwinists argue that DNA's sophisticated sequences are from predetermined natural laws. But nothing in the laws of nature, chemistry, or physics can create these sequences. The information in a written sentence doesn't come from paper, ink, or a combination of chemicals, but from a creative source. Once information has been placed within the cell, natural selection can act on it, redistributing and refining it, but it cannot generate new biological information. How did creation begin? God spoke it into existence by His Word. Only by reinterpreting key passages can we read any degree of evolution into creation, the text being a straightforward renunciation of evolutionary processes. Though perhaps somewhat tangential, DNA sequences also read like words, completed sentences defining the genome. Another reality is that organisms were mature when first created. All those creative miracles, with their marks of age, bypassed ordinary laws and processes, as when Jesus turned water into wine. As the noted philosopher of science, Sir Karl Popper, commented during the late 1900s, what makes the origin of life and of the genetic code a disturbing riddle is this. The genetic code is without any biological function unless it is translated. That is, unless it leads to the synthesis of the proteins whose structure is laid down by the code. But the machinery by which the cell translates the code consists of at least 50 macromolecular components which are themselves coded in DNA. This constitutes a baffling circle, a really vicious circle, end quote. To translate information, codes are needed, but to create the codes, information is required, and this is a hopeless circle tying evolutionists in knots. DNA is the most efficient of all storage retrieval systems. The information it stores is the blueprint for life, but it cannot be translated without multiple enzymes, themselves encoded. The genetic code also has editing machinery, encoded from the outset, presenting yet another problem for evolutionists. Evolution could therefore never have gotten off the starting line, nor could it have produced biological complexity. So, which is more scientific, intelligent design or its evolutionary counterpart? Evolutionists dismissed design from the start, given their commitment to naturalism. So science is now a game, the rules defined by materialism. Creation is then dismissed as unscientific, honoring the rules of the game rather than the evidences. Organisms do change over time, and natural selection plays a role in this. But changes produced by selection are merely variations within kind. To grasp this, it may be helpful to be schooled in the sciences, but it is also helpful to be schooled in God's Word. He who both made and instructs living cells revealed the truth in a perfect way. And since God cannot lie, we must free creation from its cultural captivity. Is intelligent design real science or just religion in disguise? In 2004, American Society for Cell Biology President Harvey F. Lodish wrote that intelligent design isn't science because it has never been tested by scientific peer review. In 2005, the American Astronomical Society said, intelligent design fails the basic definition of science, and the Biophysical Society adopted a policy stating, what distinguishes scientific theories is the scientific method, driven by observations and deductions, end quote. But science isn't so easily defined. Everyone agrees that scientific theories should be tested against observable, quantifiable, repeatable events, and that any conclusions should be both verifiable and falsifiable. Evolutionists have introduced another criterion, however. Science, they say, can invoke only natural explanations. This view, methodological naturalism, says science must explain everything in terms of natural laws and processes. Those holding to this make a distinction between methodological and metaphysical science, methodological based on the scientific method, and metaphysical on religion. This, however, rules out the supernatural, including miracles, and it fails in two major ways. One, it hamstrings science, ruling out the hand of God. And two, it promotes falsehood, inventing what isn't there. Scientists should look for natural explanations, of course, but naturalism doesn't trump the supernatural. Disclaiming anything supernatural, Darwinists say that creationists are motivated by purely religious considerations. But as Jonathan Wells writes in his book, The Politically Incorrect Guide to Darwinism and Intelligent Design, quotes, this is manifestly untrue. Otherwise, noted British atheist Anthony Flew would not have become convinced in 2004 that the evidence from nature points to design. On the other hand, many Darwinists are apparently motivated by a personal commitment to atheism. Richard Lewontin, for example, insists we cannot allow a divine foot in the door. Richard Dawkins has famously written, Darwin made it possible to be an intellectually fulfilled atheist. And Cornell University biologist William B. Provine calls Darwinism the greatest engine of atheism ever invented, end quote. But if religious comments like these are used to test a theory, then Darwinism itself fails the test of scientific validity, being no less religious than intelligent design. Teachers in Kansas, Ohio, and Pennsylvania have been intimidated, says Wells, being required to teach Darwinism, the whole of Darwinism, and nothing but Darwinism. But whatever happened to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, end quote. No matter your definition of science and or religion, there is only one explanation for nature, the creative power of an all-wise God. Without him, there is no intelligent design, and we're left with the evolutionary mantra, nothing times nobody equals everything.
You have just heard Beyond Intelligent Design with host Dr. MEL.